Hey everyone, Chris here. Last month I did a video where I showed my favorite football card, a 1952 Bowman Large Chuck Bednarik, and talked about one of the reasons I like it so much is because of the difficulty in finding them centered. So today I just want to talk a little bit about how these cards were printed and why I think centering is so difficult. Now, this isn't a definitive matter of fact explanation, but it's more of an opinion based on what others have said and some of the other evidence that I've seen floating around out there. I think information like this can be helpful when building a card collection. So, to start, Bowman produced two different sizes for their football set in 1952. In an answer to the popularity of Topps doing oversized baseball cards in 1952, Bowman produced the smaller size like they did for 1951 and 52 baseball, and they also produced the larger size. Each set has 144 cards, and it would appear that Bowman sold more of the large version, as there seems to be more large than small out there, with the exception of the SPs in the large set. Plus, all the sets that Bowman produced after 1952 were of the larger version. So let's look at the short prints. Why are there short prints, and why do most of them seem to be off-center, with many of them being off-center really bad? If you look at how the large cards were printed, they were printed on 4 separate sheets, with each sheet containing 9 cards across and 4 cards down, for a total of 36 cards per sheet with a total of 144 cards over 4 sheets. Now, each card measured 2.5 inches wide, which would make each sheet 22.5 inches wide for all 9 cards. The small sheets, which were constructed in the same 9x4 card manner, would have been a little bit smaller. They would have been about 18.5 inches wide. So the theory is that that Bowman was producing both sides cards, both small and large, and they didn't know if they would even make larger cards again, they had to figure out a way to cut the larger sheets without changing the gears on the cutter. So the theory is that the workers would cut off a row of either the left side or the right side of the sheet to bring the sheets down to a smaller size. So in this example, what they would do is they would cut off the right side, which would be card numbers 9, 18, 27, and 36. And they would rotate other times and cut off the left side. So for this sheet, it would be card numbers 1, 10, 19, and 28. Now, the reason I believe this is the case is there's actually a picture of a sheet online that would support this. It shows an example where the left side of the sheet was cut off and is missing card numbers 1, 10, 19, and 28. So this would explain why, even though the original 4 sheets that these were printed on, they all have even card numbers, so they should all have the same number of cards in existence, but the numbers divisible by 9 and the numbers right after those divisible by 9 ended up being short printed. Now, that explains the short prints, but why are most of these cards off-centered? Well, if the original small sheets were just over a total of 18.5 inches, but the large sheets, after cutting a row off either the left or the right side, are 20 inches, I think the factory workers had to compensate somehow with the large sheet still being slightly bigger. And they probably adjusted the sheet somehow to go through the cutting process, and it caused the end cards on either the left or the right-hand side to mostly be off-centered. And in fact, they're almost always off-centered. Those cards that are divisible by 9 and the ones right after the ones divisible by 9 are very, very difficult to find centered. Now, one other thing I do want to add about this set is it was printed in 2 series. The first series are card numbers 1 through 72, and those were distributed in the beginning of the football season. And the second series, which was printed and released later in the football season, were card numbers 73 through 144, thus making cards 73 through 144 harder to find than the first 72 cards. Now, in closing, I just want to say, to me, this is just a fabulous set to collect. It's loaded with rookies like Frank Gifford, Gino Marchetti, Hugh McElhenney, Art Donovan, Ollie Matson, and Andy Robustelli. And there are also cards for each head coach for each of the 12 NFL teams that were in existence at the time. And two of those coaches are actually George Halas and Paul Brown. It's just a great design for a set. It's got great, just incredible artwork with vibrant colors and intense player poses and just those old, amazing, just old school football logos on each card. Now, I'm currently working on the large set, and it's a real challenge as the SPs have gotten pricey and difficult to find. But if you want a less challenging but doable project, I would suggest putting together the small set. I think it's just again, it's you get all the same cards as the large set, but you don't have to deal with the short prints. So I appreciate everyone watching this. I know it's not exactly something that everybody enjoys, these kinds of videos, but maybe it's something where you learned a little something about the way they're printed. It might help you make a decision on what or what not to collect in the future. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you next time.